The blind date table sat untouched in the middle of the sunlit restaurant, a golden gift box resting like a silent accusation between two empty chairs. And Adrian Wolfe felt something colder than disappointment settle into his chest as the minutes slipped by. He had built an empire that thrived on precision, numbers, and control. Yet here he was, abandoned by a stranger who never even bothered to cancel. The soft daytime light poured through tall glass windows, catching the dust in the air and making the restaurant glow warmly, but none of that warmth reached him. He stared at the gift meant for a woman he had never met, wondering when his life had become so perfectly successful and painfully empty at the same time. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet moments that change lives forever, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Midnight Tales, because stories like this are reminders that hearts can still be healed when we least expect it. Adrian had not wanted this blind date in the first place. It had been arranged by his board as a publicity move, a way to soften the image of the cold, unreachable CEO who never smiled in interviews and never missed a deal. His mornings were always the same: early meetings, sharp suits, and decisions that moved thousands of lives without ever touching his own emotions. Growing up in foster homes had taught him that attachments were temporary and trust was expensive, so he learned to rely only on himself. Love to him was a luxury he could not afford, and yet some small, stubborn part of him had shown up today, dressed perfectly, hoping not for romance but for something that might prove he was still human. Across the restaurant, Mira Calder was struggling through her own quiet battle. She worked mornings as a cleaner in nearby offices and afternoons as a waitress trainee, her days stitched together by exhaustion and hope. That morning, she had been sent to the restaurant to deliver a misplaced reservation card. The manager was busy, the place was half full with lunch guests, and Mira's feet ached from hours of standing. She noticed the empty table by the window, the untouched gift, and assumed it belonged to a guest who had stepped away. With sunlight warming her face and her hands trembling slightly from hunger, she sat down for just a moment, meaning to rest before standing again. When Adrian looked up and saw her sitting there, confusion flashed across his face, followed quickly by irritation. This was not the polished woman from the profile his assistant had shown him. Mira wore a simple dress and a borrowed apron, her hair tied back neatly, her eyes gentle but tired. She realized instantly that she was in the wrong place and felt her heart drop. Embarrassment burned through her as she tried to stand, but something in Adrian's expression stopped her. It was not anger she saw, but a familiar loneliness, the kind she recognized from looking at her own reflection late at night. She stayed seated for one more second than she should have, and in that pause, something shifted. The restaurant noise faded into a soft blur as daylight danced on the table between them. Adrian noticed how carefully she folded her hands, how she kept glancing at the gift as if it were a fragile thing. For the first time in years, he did not feel the urge to control the situation. He felt curious instead, and curiosity was dangerous for a man like him. Mira explained her mistake in a rush, her words tumbling out along with her apologies, and though she was ready to leave, Adrian found himself asking her to stay, just for a moment, since the table was already empty anyway. It was a small decision, insignificant by corporate standards, but it felt strangely heavy. Mira hesitated, knowing she did not belong in places like this, knowing how easily people like her were reminded of their position in the world. Still, something in his calm, tired eyes made her sit back down. As the afternoon light shifted, they shared the table in silence at first, then slowly in comfort. Mira spoke about her mother, who had passed away when she was young, about learning to survive without expecting help. Adrian listened, truly listened, something no one had asked of him in years. He spoke not of profits or power, but of moving from home to home as a child, of promising himself he would never need anyone again. Their struggles were different, yet painfully similar. Two lives shaped by absence rather than abundance. The gift box remained unopened between them, no longer a symbol of rejection, but of possibility. Adrian realized that the woman who had been meant to sit there would never have seen him the way Mira did, not as a CEO, but as a man quietly holding himself together. Mira in turn saw past the tailored suit and distant posture, recognizing someone who had built walls not out of cruelty, but survival. As lunchtime guests came and went, neither of them noticed how long they had been there. Daytime faded gently toward afternoon, and for the first time in years, Adrian felt something loosen inside his chest. He offered to walk Mira back to her work, not out of obligation, but because he did not want the moment to end. She accepted, unsure of what this connection meant, but certain it mattered. In the days that followed, their paths crossed again and again, never by mistake this time. Adrian found himself seeking her honesty, her quiet strength, while Mira learned that kindness could exist even in the most unexpected places. Challenges did not disappear overnight. Their worlds were still far apart, filled with judgment, doubt, and fear of being hurt again. Yet each meeting softened the edges of those fears, proving that healing did not come from grand gestures, but from consistency and care. The cold CEO, who once measured life in numbers, began measuring it in moments. Morning light through office windows reminded him of that restaurant table. Mira, who had spent her life feeling invisible, realized she was seen, valued not for what she had, but for who she was. Together they did not fix each other, but they learned how to stand side by side, imperfect and honest. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that even a simple mistake can become a miracle, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Your support keeps stories like this alive and reaching the people who need them most. And before this story ends, leave a comment telling us where you are watching from and what moment moved you the most, because your words mean more than you know. Sometimes the table meant for one person becomes a place for two souls to finally find warmth. And in the gentle light of an ordinary day, a life once ruled by cold certainty can be changed forever by a single mistaken seat.